All right, we are live. I'm sorry for the slight delay, folks. I was accosted by some IDF soldiers, and so I had to talk my way out of that. That happens on a semi-regular basis, just about every single day. I have to explain myself. People are very concerned when they see cameras, of course, and so I understand that. I have to be very careful what I show on camera, especially when I do a live broadcast, because we don't want to tell bad people things they don't need to know about this disposition or the location of enemy troops or anything like that. So that's why whenever I set up a camera, especially if I put it on a big tripod, uh, some soldiers are going to come and talk to me and ask me what's going on. And so I just had to sort of explain that to them. I have a press pass, I've showed this before, that helps them understand that I've been vetted. I've had a background check done and that I'm cleared and legal to do journalism, to commit journalism wherever I go. But at the same time, I still have to be sure that I'm not filming anything I'm not supposed to. I am in Nahariya, which is on the northwest coast or the northern coast of Israel. This is the Mediterranean out here. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. A lot of people out walking. There's people out enjoying the beach. There's some guys fishing back behind me. Right in front of me is a beach with a ton of people on it that are out just enjoying themselves. And it's a beautiful day. But, that doesn't mean that the war is over. Uh, I've seen, I wanted to mention this. I have seen where in the war in Ukraine, you've seen these memes. This is part of the information war, right? Trying to change your opinion about the conflict, trying to influence how you think about it. People would put out these memes that show people out enjoying the beach in Kiev in the summer, or going out to a nightclub in Kiev while the war's on. And they would put that out on the internet, on social media, as if to say, like, there isn't really a war, or if there is, that the Ukrainians aren't taking it seriously because look, they're all out partying and having a good time, and meanwhile we're giving billions of dollars to the Ukrainians. That is really disingenuous. Uh, and thank you, Ohio. That's really disingenuous because, uh, for example, in Ukraine, it's a very large country, and it's a conventional war, which is not the kind of war that we've seen before. It's not like Iraq and Afghanistan. Iraq and Afghanistan were insurgencies. If I was in Iraq or Afghanistan right now, well, neither of them have a. It would be amazing if I was in Iraq or Afghanistan because they don't have an ocean. But if I was there right now, I would have to worry about every person around me potentially being an enemy and wanting to kill me, because you don't know who the enemy is in an insurgency until they're shooting at you. They essentially hide among the populace, and they're not a traditional army. They don't wear uniforms, and so they just sneak around, and they use the civilian population as as a weapon, but also to defend themselves. Thank you so much for the super chats. I really appreciate that. This is my own personal channel, so the money we collect here goes to help people that we meet who are in need around the world. You can go to my link tree, which hopefully my wife will put up, and you can see some of the people that we have helped and go see their situation and possibly be moved to join us in helping them. I give out of my own pocket, but I don't want to hog all the blessing for the giving myself. So if you want to join us in that, we can help even more people. Anyway, so if this was an insurgency, I wouldn't be able to just stand here. It'd be too dangerous, right? But because it's a traditional war, meaning that there's an actual front line, then there are safe places in the country. In Ukraine, Kyiv is relatively safe. It's safer than any American city, I can promise you that. I would much rather have my family in Kyiv, Ukraine, than have them in Baltimore or Chicago or Dallas or Miami or New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco. You get the point. Hey, Bruce, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Um, the reason that it's safer there is because you don't have the sort of unchecked street crime that you do in most American major cities. In Kiev, you have to worry about a missile falling on your head, but they have pretty good air defense systems. And so most of the time, when the alarm sounds that missiles are coming in, people don't even go to the shelter very often anymore because they just stand there and watch the missiles get shot down by American Patriots, Patriot missile systems, or whatever counter battery fire they have. Here in Israel, it's very much the same. There are places around the country that are eminently safe. This one is pretty safe at the moment. There is the uh, certainly the threat of rocket fire coming across here, and there are bomb shelters all around this town. As a matter of fact, if you go to Google Maps and look up Naharia, one of the things that's marked on the Google Maps is all of the bomb shelters in town. There's one. Let me see here. I think there's one right over this way. Usually about every 100 yards you'll find one. They even have them on the beach. I can't really show you. Thank you very much, DS2324 and Monica. Very kind of you. Those super chats go a long way. Thank you very much. Um, they even have bomb shelters on the beach where people can just go in there if a missile comes in. We are close enough to Hezbollah territory that they could fire a rocket and have it here fairly quickly. If you look back behind me, the mountain range back there, those white cliffs, that's the border uh, with Lebanon. And thank you very much, Cody. That's kind of you. Uh, so you can imagine how quickly a rocket could get here from the border there uh, to here. And we have had a rocket uh, warning today where they had to shut down basically everything north of where I'm standing and wouldn't let anybody in there for a while. And they've also had incursion attempts where Hezbollah fighters have actually blown a hole in the wall. I don't know if you can quite see it from here. Let's see if we can zoom way in. There is a wall on top of that ridge line. I can see it with the naked eye, but it might be hard for you to make out with the pixelization. But right on the top of that ridge line, there's a 30 foot concrete T-wall, and that T-wall is the border. It's got cameras, it's got barbed wire, it's got guards up there and everything. Wow, thank you very much, Sarah. That's very kind of you. That's a lot. Thank you so much. That T-wall actually got a hole blown in it as a team of Hezbollah operatives tried to get through. Our daughters say hi. Well, thank you, Lewis. Appreciate that. That's great. Please keep praying for Israel. So the Hezbollah guys blew a hole in that wall over there. Thank you, Diane. And they uh, tried to get through. Now, there were IDF soldiers on site who immediately killed one of the guys and eventually caught or killed the rest of them as well. They have killed now about 59 that they know of, Hezbollah operatives so far, attacking Israel or about to attack Israel or trying to get into Israel illegally across the border. And so I wouldn't say it's heating up. It's actually been fairly quiet, relatively quiet compared to what we had seen before, because uh, it's after the speech that Hassan Nasrallah gave yesterday. Hassan Nasrallah is the commander of, of Hezbollah, and it was a highly anticipated speech because they were expecting that he was going to declare war on Israel, and that would have been very exciting up here if that had happened for sure. Um, and so that's one of the reasons I came up here for this last couple of days, was to be here in case things really popped off. Actually, what happened was he, spluttered a bunch about, jihad, and that everything was, that they supported what the Hamas guys did on October 7th. But then he sort of said, but they did all of that. They did that whole operation on their own. We did not know anything about it. We didn't have anything to do with it. And he did not declare war. So it seems like it was kind of a um, sort of, I don't know, cowardly way of staying out of the war and throwing Hamas under the bus. Hey, thank you for the $20, Charlie Brown. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. So the the fact that Hassan Nasrallah did not declare war yesterday means that it was a very quiet night last night. I slept like a baby right up there in Kiryat Shimona. When I left this morning, I drove right along the northern border, all along the northern border, in places where there were no cars being allowed in. It was, I don't know, I think I snuck through someplace in a back road or something. I got into an area I really wasn't supposed to be. The way I know that is because when I came out of that area, I came out at a place where they had stopped me and wouldn't let me go in the last time I was up here. And it's hotter now than it was back then. So somehow I made it on this road that kind of parallels the border. And there were several times where I was literally, I mean, I could have parked the car on the side of the road and walked 20 feet and touched the border fence. I was literally right on the border fence. And I was a little sketched out by that. That's not a great place to be. Obviously, nobody else wanted to be out there because there was nobody there. But I kept driving. I didn't want to drive too fast. I didn't want to drive too slow. If you drive too fast, I've got more danger of being shot by the IDF because I come around a corner too fast and surprise some guys there, especially since I'm not supposed to be there. And if I go too slow, then I'm an easy target for the Hezbollah guys that are looking for a target to shoot at out there. So it was a little sketchy, but I made it all the way along there. Finally did get to a point where they said, well, what are you doing out here, man? You can't come through here. And I said, okay, no problem. Where do you want me to go? And they said, you got to go back a couple kilometers. And then I wound through this mountain village. I'm getting to see parts of Israel that nobody ever gets to see. Cody, that's very kind of you. $49.99. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're right. That wasn't maybe the smartest thing to do. Thank you for the 1999, Teresa, Phoenix, all you guys. That's really kind. Again, we're going to use the money that gets donated on this podcast to help people that I run into who are in need around the world. And if you go to that link tree that my wife's putting up, you can see some of the people that we're helping. We're helping some single mothers in Venezuela right now that really need it. So this is going to help them a lot. When I got out, I came out of that kind of no man's land area, and I ended up here in Naharia, which is there's one town further north, but I can see it from here. Again, that's the border right up there. I can see that mountain range. So I came out here. I had lunch with a guy that I know who's here helping out the IDF, and it's amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful coastal city. It's the end of Shabbat, so everybody's out enjoying themselves. Thank you, Teresa. Very kind of you. Thank you for your prayers. It's a beautiful day, and people are going about their business. But don't let that make you think that there's not a war on, or that Israel doesn't need our help. It's a false dichotomy when you see these memes that say, look, these people are at the beach. They don't need America's help. That's a false dichotomy. The fact that there are safe places here doesn't mean that the country's not at war. It just means that it's a conventional war, and you have to go to the actual front lines to get to the fighting. this could be the front lines at some point. God forbid, but it's possible. But right now, it's very safe and very beautiful. And so, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick you up and show you around a little bit, but I have to kind of turn the camera off, or at least put it down for a minute while I go past some things that I'm not supposed to show you. Like I say, obviously, we don't want to show bad people things they don't need to know. And I'm going to keep talking here, but I'm just going to point at the ground. Um, and I had to promise the IDF that are in this area that there were certain things that I would not film, and one of them is right here, so I've got to walk by it and keep the camera down. So bear with me here for just a minute. We're going to go down to the other side of the beach, and I want to get where I can show you it's a very nice sunset tonight. So bear with me just a few more minutes. Um, while I was driving along the northern border, there were a tremendous number of troops up there, tanks, armor, stuff like that. They're all, prepared just in case Hezbollah tries something. And that's not a secret. That's the kind of thing that, um, you know, we want the bad guys to know. We definitely want them to know that there's a lot of troops out there. Okay, so I'm going to set you up here and put you where you can see the sunset. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunset tonight. And I'm just gonna carry you down here. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna keep moving a little bit because I'm still a little closer. What in the world is that guy doing? There's a really weird guy down there who's twerking all by himself on the beach, like a 60-year-old man who's standing on the beach twerking all by himself in a bathing suit. That's something I did not need to see today. Um, I don't know what. I mean, okay, whatever. So I'm just gonna walk down the beach, and we'll point you that way. How about that? I go back down here. The only real difference that I'm seeing is that there are some fighting positions along the beach here, and there are military patrol ships out in the water that are. How's that, huh? Is that beautiful or what? Amazing. So there are some military patrols out. Thurman Scott, thank you very much for that's great. Very kind of you. Really appreciate it. I may have missed a couple there. If I did, hopefully my wife is thanking you. Um, I okay. Where was I? So I wanted to give you an update on what's happening down in the south now. So the feared invasion of Hezbollah really did not happen here in the north. That's a good thing. And now in the south, the IDF has. I'll tell you what. I'm afraid I'm getting too much wind noise in my mic, so I'm going to do this. I'll turn that around, and I will stand back here and let you look at this beautiful sunset. Okay, so down in the south, they are making good headway. The IDF has encircled Gaza City. They cut off the northern half of Gaza from the southern half of Gaza. You're hearing in the mainstream media a tremendous amount of noise being made about the poor Gazan refugees, and they are miserable. And it's really bad. Beverly, thank you, so kind. Thank you very much, Beverly. Um, it is definitely bad what's happening down there in Gaza to the Gazan people. Most of them support Hamas. You might find it hard to believe, but those people are somewhat brainwashed, Kind of like it says in Second Timothy, they've been taken captive by the devil to do his will. People who deny God. Frederick, thank you so much. That's very kind. Wow, I really appreciate it. That's very generous, Frederick. Uh, so I'm not saying I don't feel sorry for the people. I definitely feel sorry for the people in Gaza. But what you're not hearing much about is the fact that the IDF is actually doing everything they can to be humane uh, in the way that they prosecute this war. They are even behind the scenes working to get medical care into the people of northern Gaza as they push through there and start to take over. When they find women and children, that sort of thing, they have medics on site and they are treating the Palestinians, helping those people who need it. And they are uh, actually pumping millions of gallons of water into southern Gaza right now to give people drinking water. They are doing all sorts of things. They're talking about ways that they can get aid in there and so forth and so on. So the IDF is being quite successful. That doesn't mean that they have not taken losses. They certainly have had some losses. The last count I had was 18 people, uh, 18 soldiers from the IDF had been killed in the conflict in Gaza. We don't have, a lot of figures on materiel that has been lost as far as tanks and armor and stuff like that. There's been some videos that Hamas has put out of them fighting against tanks and shooting at tanks with RPGs and stuff like that. But an RPG is not going to take out a tank. Rocket propelled grenade will not take out a Merkava tank unless they're just supremely lucky. It's just not going to happen. So the videos that you see being put out will claim to have taken out a tank. One report I saw that was put out by Hamas said that they had taken out 6 enemy tanks. Well, that is patently ridiculous. They did not take out 6 Merkava tanks in one engagement. That's no way. That didn't happen. Um, You will even see some people on the right, like Colonel McGregor, on Tucker Carlson and stuff like that, saying that Israel is lost, that they have suffered massive casualties, and that they are losing this war. Um, my sense is that that is patently untrue. First of all, McGregor isn't here. He doesn't know what he's talking about Ukraine in any way, shape, or form. Colonel McGregor has been wrong on Ukraine literally since the beginning on virtually everything he has said. And you might not agree with me on that, but I'm telling you, as somebody who spent 6 months in Ukraine, everything we would listen to Colonel McGregor make a statement and about a place where I was literally standing, and he was complete. He would say it was overrun by the Russians, and I was like, I'm there in Kherson, I'm there, and it's not overrun by the Russians. So Colonel McGregor, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him in his analysis. He's been consistently wrong, and from what I've seen in this war in Israel, he has been wrong about this war too. He seems to get a lot of clicks, get a lot of play on the media by saying these apocalyptic things about Israel, that Israel's losing, but Israel's definitely not losing. And I was at the largest hospital in southern Israel a few days ago, which is the hospital where they will bring very badly wounded soldiers out of Gaza that are being hurt in Gaza, and they were not treating many soldiers at all. There were no, helicopters coming and going, dropping wounded off. It was not apparent to me that Israel is losing. Couple that with the fact that Israel is allowing its soldiers to put out taped videos from the front lines that they're filming themselves as they go along. So my friend Haim Nailspin is a master sergeant in the Sapper Corps, Special Operations Tunnel Rats, and he's been putting out daily updates. He doesn't talk about the operations, uh, but he talks about, he does a little devotion basically. Is that not a beautiful sunset or what? Now, just be honest. That's a pretty awesome sunset right there. I don't know if I can zoom in more, but that is a rocking sunset. Look at that sun going down. Holy cow. Connie, I wish you were here, babe. I really miss my wife. I haven't seen my wife in a month. Um, but we're doing good work over here, so I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can do it, as long as I need to. Um, so anyway, suffice it to say, when we go to answer that question, is Israel losing the war? I would say in a physical sense, in a kinetic sense, there's no possible way that they are losing the war right now. They are not losing thousands or even hundreds of troops. They are at the rate they're going, they're losing a couple of troops a day, maybe four or five. Um, Hezbollah, on the other hand, I'm sorry, Hamas, on the other hand, is losing 50 to 100 a day, probably even more than that. They are um, massively, massively being just wiped out in Gaza. Now, I'm keeping an eye on the time because I got another live hit coming up. I'm going to have to go here pretty quick. Um, now, as I have said over and over again, somebody just gave a super chat, and thank you very much. I can't read it, but I appreciate that. Liana, very kind of you. The Canadian peso is what that looks like. Lena House, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, Lisa. Um, now, so they're not losing in a kinetic sense, but they are losing, in my opinion, in an information sense. And that's the more important thing. When you have people all over the globe who are convinced that Israel is the aggressor here, convinced that Israel is in the wrong for invading Gaza, um, then you have Israel losing the information war. Israel needs to do a better job at getting out the word about the good things that they're doing, getting out the word about the fact that they are giving aid to people in Gaza, that they are pumping water into Gaza, that they are arranging for medical transport for people in Gaza, and that for decades before this, they were literally taking people every day out of Gaza, taking them to the hospital, and giving them life saving treatment and surgery for free. They also did that to the refugees from the Syrian civil war. Israel has been extremely generous to its adversaries and its enemies. Um, Unfortunately, they haven't always been on the right side of everything. And my Armenian friends are pretty upset at Israel for supporting Azerbaijan. But I'll just say very quickly the reason that William, thank you so much, very kind of you for that 1999. The reason that Israel supported Azerbaijan didn't have anything to do with Armenia. Israel wasn't thinking about Armenia when they supported Azerbaijan. They were thinking about Iran, and Iran is their biggest enemy, and Azerbaijan is against Iran. And so the the only reason I think that Israel formed this alliance with Azerbaijan was two reasons: oil and gas that comes to Israel from there, and the fact that Azerbaijan is a you know they're also against Iran. I think that Armenia was just a very unfortunate outgrowth of uh, that alliance between these two. Suffice it to say, Israel needs to do a better job at uh, the information battle space. I have contacted them and offered to go and film the water pipes and the water pumps that are pumping water into Gaza. We'll see if I hear back from Jonathan Conricus about that. In the meantime, I'm up here in the north. I'm going to go back to Jerusalem tomorrow unless something pops off up here. But suffice it to say that thank God things are quiet here for the moment. and let's pray that they stay that way. I've got to run. I've got a live hit coming up on Newsmax. So if you get Newsmax, you can see me there here in just a moment. So I will see you soon. God bless you all. Thank you very much. And we will see you next time. Take care.